So Vincent,
Yes.
Cynthia, all the best. Let's go.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you everybody for your patience today on this. Is it Sunday now? I forget. But
It's still Sunday here. Yes.
I want to welcome you all, dear friends, colleagues, fellow martial artists, to celebrate this Bruce Lee's 80th birthday. And thank you again for being patient and joining us and participating today. I'm facilitating along with my femme fatale partner, Cynthia Rothrock, the queen of Kung Fu. So the two organizations, basically my foundation, We Can Save Children, and Wally is the executive director of African Views organization that I'm also on the board of directors, which is in consultative with the, I guess, Economic Social Council with the United Nations. So we want to welcome all of you today. And thank you. Many of you know 3 years ago, Wally and I put on an event at Federal Hall marking Bruce Lee's 77th birthday, and Federal Hall on Wall Street, which is the iconic building where our first president, George Washington, was inaugurated. And an event like that should have taken 6 months to prepare, but we did it in 6 weeks. And so I rarely get a call from Wally. Everything is through WhatsApp these days, as you well know. And so about a week ago, I get a call at 11:30 p.m. And I'm like, why is Wally calling me at 11:30? He never calls me. So I figured it must be important. So he said, you think we could do an event for Bruce Lee's 80th? And I figured, oh, we're going to do it next year. And he said, no, let's do it this month. So we have put this together in a week. So I want to thank all of you for being here. And let's just make this enjoyable, laid back, and have a good time. So once again, thank you all.
Thank you so very, very much, Sir Vincent, my partner in crime, my brother, my friend, my colleague. You are always a treasure, and I can always count on you. That is really a very special thing. I am very delighted about your prowess, being able to connect and bring all these great forces together. Cynthia has been a great heroine of mine growing up as well. She was very popular in the German world, and as she was, of course, as she is still today, but even for my generation at that time, growing up in Europe, she was the queen of about town, which needed to be reckoned with. So I know your relationship with her, and I'm very, very delighted that she's taken the time to join us today. As with so many other people that I see here, as Vincent was presenting me the list of people that are going to be coming on today, I was just going wow upon wow, and my voice was just increasing from that. You can imagine how excited I am, because all of you guys have played a role in my vision, my scope, and really a joy to have us come together like this. You know, in the field that we're in, what's so important really is to find the right common denominator upon which we can bring ourselves together. This is perhaps some of the most important goal that we can have today. You know, some of the things that bring us together in the world today, perhaps if we look at it, we look at money as a common denominator. But other than that, we begin to look at different cultural elements that could bring us together. At one time, we advocated for the American jeanswear because everybody else in the world does it. However, this does not communicate enough the kind of cultural elements that we needed to convey. Someone that does that, as many others have, but one who has done something so remarkable and yet not quite elevated enough is Bruce Lee. We all know that because we're here making the testimonies, and many of us have been witnesses of his time and what he has brought to us. Many people in the world today do not really recognize the contribution that he's made. I believe that the opening of China itself to the rest of the world was something that Bruce Lee has ushered. And he had not only encouraged our president at that time, Nixon, to go to China, being the first to do that, he has encouraged the whole world to look at China as a force to reckon with in the world. And this was a time at which the Cultural Revolution in China was taking many complex stages. But one part that is so incredible and has endowed us in the world is not only the food that we enjoy from Chinatown, but also this martial arts that is brought about. And we remain here so grateful for this gift and what Bruce Lee meant to many of us. So it is, of course, normal that we come together, him, in honor of him, as one great cultural icon that is a common denominator to reckon with. Growing up in Africa as a child, you know, Bruce Lee meant a whole lot to me. I was a comic fan, so to speak. Stan Lee was like my god, and you know, Bruce Lee was in the midst of that with Chang Shi, whoever was reading the martial art of Chang Shi, and the partnership between Iron Man and Iron Fist. If you remember those guys, I mean Iron Fist and I can't remember the name of the other guy. I think his name was. Is it Nick or anyway? You know who I meant. The guy with the strong skin, with the Iron Fist. I can't believe I forgot his name right now. But anyway, the point is, we have all lived this era. We have all been part of all of this. And again, this makes today very special. I called Vincent because I did not want this year that has been so dull to many of us. Many of us have lost someone close to us, a friend, a family member. You know, again, this is why it's so special that we're able to come together to celebrate life and use use a cultural icon that's so meaningful to us to bring this celebration about. And I said to him, you know, it's coming to an end. There are people who were supposed to do the event and they didn't rise to the occasion. We can't let this happen on our watch. This is the 80th anniversary, and it's going to be another 10 years before we have another roundup number. So of course, it didn't take long to convince him. He just knew that was crazy. How we're going to pull it off? But by the next day, we were ready to go. So, you know, the only challenge we've had so far is the challenge that we've had today. And I thank Brother Demetrius for rising to the occasion and setting us all up on a good stride. So I look forward to a really wonderful event. Again, I can't thank you all enough to be here. We have something really wonderful in our hands, and it depends on us how we can use what we have today to really make a better tomorrow for so many people that can learn from us. So I thank you so much for this occasion, and I look forward to a wonderful event. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So I don't know. Oh, by the way, somebody change. Maybe Demetrius, you can change Oso's name, because I don't believe his name is Wally, unless there's a twin.
He has to change it himself.
Oh, he
has to change it.
Okay. So Dr. Wally and I, Wally's been up for the past 3 nights. I don't think he's gotten any sleep. So we put together a number of different panels of topic. And we should start with the first panel, which I don't know if you have checked the email that I did send last night with the actual attachment. Some of you probably did not, but anyway.
I did.
Okay, some of you. The first panel is the legacy of martial arts in film. Obviously, during Bruce Lee's period, and maybe even before, maybe Shaw Brothers, and of course, today. So on that panel is participants including Lauren Avedon, Warrington Hudlin, Grandmaster Ron Van Cleef, Demetrius Angelo, Ty Mark, Bobby Samuels, Don Wilson. We missed Don Wilson today. Okay. Eric Lee we missed too, Winston Ellis, and Art Camacho. So those gentlemen are on this panel. So it's up to you. So you can, whomever, try not to talk over each other. But I'll just go through that list again of the ones I know who are present is Lauren, Warrington, Ron, Demetrius, Ty Mark, Bobby, Winston, and Art. So,
Just to say, Vin, to jump in, I think only Grandmaster Van Cleef should be the one to start.
okay.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Because
I'll go second.
you're always so quiet, sir. You're
Yeah.
always listening. So I think it would be appropriate because you are and were a contracted, Hong Kong Chinese cinema star, had a contract, and were working at the same time, fairly close to the same time as Grandmaster Lee. And you're always so quiet, and you're always such a great listener. But this is something that you can bring a lot of light to.
I don't know where to start. I met Bruce Lee in the 1960s at Ed Parker's tournament. He was introduced to me by Al Dacascos and Steve Muhammad. And he gave an exhibition, a speed exhibition there, which I witnessed. It was fascinating. He first made me interested in Wing Chun because of the blocking and countering simultaneously. And his speed, I mean, he was a great guy. I mean, it wasn't just in 1960 something that I met him. I met him at S. Henry Cho's All-American Championship. I had lost the grand championship to Joe Hayes. So I took a picture of Joe and Bruce together, and Bruce said, "You're the Black Dragon." And we all laughed about it, went back to the hotel. And years later, I made a film, The Black Dragon. How crazy. But I've always been fascinated with Wing Chun. I studied with Jason Lau, Duncan Leon, Leon Ting, Leo Fong. So I've been able to really get a good overview of Wing Chun. And my brother Alex Richter in New York City Wing Chun. It's a fascinating system, which really looks great on film. But I got my start in the 70s. So I was a stuntman with the East Coast Stuntmen's Association. I did my first martial arts choreography on the show called Kojak.
Wow.
For
Wow.
Palace. He twisted this guy's wrist and threw him down on the ground.
Telly Savalas. Telly Savalas. Yes. Oh my
I
God.
worked with Ryan So for a number of years as the bartender at the Crystal Palace. So that was a great gig, 3-4 years on that. But, most of my time, I started martial arts in 1959 with Moses Powell, and it continues today with Helson Gracie. I made purple belt after 8.5 years.
Wow. Congratulations, sir.
Jiu-jitsu is it's quite exhausting. It's not just like chess. You get a really good workout. My teacher and my coach, Ron Shiraki, makes us do 5 and 10 minute rounds. And I'm going to be 78 next month.
Wow.
Wow. God bless.
Bravo that I'm still going, because I hear guys in the dojo crying at 40. Oh no, I can't. I'm just coming back from cataract surgery though. I had some complications, and day by day.
So as the agenda said, the legacy of martial arts in film, you have, like you just described, you have, met Bruce Lee, seen the original, Long Beach International, demo, which is basically the first MMA demonstration. Well, what was it before? What was before that was that public?
Nothing really.
Right. So that's why I'm saying, it seems like that was really one of the first MMA demos when he put,
a real innovator, a real innovator. I like his philosophy and his psychology. Really cool guy.
And then when he brought that explosiveness and all of that technique to film, he just blew people away. Because with technique, any martial art, everybody, right? It's that line. It's that beautiful, beautiful line and execution and the power, the explosiveness. And we see so many things in film these days and in stunts, all the pre-vising, all of the over choreography. I'm sure I can jump in here and talk about this and that. But what he did and what you were involved in Hong Kong and the way that they shot it and the way they did it, it was beautiful. And it still holds up. I mean,
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
So that's the thing that's so interesting to me about speaking to someone who, you know, and knowing Grandmaster Van Cleef for a long time.
The dinosaur.
Not even close. You know, if you tapping people out at 78, you know, and believe me, I remember you from seeing you at Billy Blank's, and put your blindfold on, and anybody come at you and they're on the floor. So, you know, you're an amazing man, and I'm so sorry I never got to visit you while I was living in Hawaii. Yeah. But panelists, jump in. All I can say is that yes, go ahead, Taimok. Go for it, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
1 second, excuse me, not to interrupt, just 1 second. Who is doing the adding of people? Because there's one person and he's texting me now, which is Hector Martinez.
Oh, where is he?
He can see us, he can hear us, but he's not been added. Thank you. Hector, Dude.
You need to make Hector a co-host. That's all.
Oh,
He's
you
here.
come on.
He's here. Just make him a co-host.
That's Wally, right?
Yeah, Dr. Wild needs to do.
Yeah, Wally, make him a co-host. Okay.
Mark, what were you saying, brother?
Yeah, go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be with everybody, and thanks for having me, Vincent and Molly, everyone. Much love. Who's out there? Cynthia, everybody. Yeah. What, you know, it's funny. I'm sure everybody's had their own experience of the pandemic. I had something very deep happen with me. And when I say that, I usually like to think of that as something that was transformative. What Bruce Lee, I went actually back to Bruce Lee unknowingly. And, you know, it's almost like I got a voice in my head all the time speaking from above, you know, about him, or he himself, who knows. What happened was I was, and usually when you're at your most vulnerable is when you can actually see the light, right? So my mother being 83 and underlying conditions, and as soon as this pandemic happened, to me it was no big deal outside of that. I didn't worry so much about myself. Here we're in New York City, by the way, I'm in New York, and I heard ambulances going by every 5 minutes. You know, it was very different. I heard, you know, I had to talk to my mother because I pay her bills and I rent out some rooms, and they had to leave for varying reasons. One was a bartender, one ended up getting a job out overseas. So then I said, okay, I got my mother set up pretty good. The rent's high and all that. So I have to come up, use some of my money that I have saved and find a way to take care of her. And then I got food poisoning. So I'm in lockdown. And I never experienced food poisoning before. I was at home, gonna, you know, no pandemic for me. So here's a little gift for you.
Right.
Food poisoning.
Yes.
And it was the most depressing time, one of the top 5 most depressing I've ever experienced. And what happened to me, I had it was probably going through that illness too. I had something come up that like crystallized everything that I've been through in my life, and everything that I read and everything I've seen, all crystallized at once. And it had to do with what reality is. And you know, what I saw was that everybody is only a possibility or an impossibility. And then I had to think about that whole thing that, you know, Bruce Lee followed Krishnamurti and Alan Watts, you know, and he was, everybody knows he has a degree in philosophy. And what I realized is how everyone being either a possibility of something or a diminishing of possibilities, you know, I realized that that's all we really are, you know, because we're all going to go in the grave one day. So what are we doing here on earth? And those are the kind of deep things that I was inquiring about. And when I got into reality, I started to, this is interesting. So I started to study about it, and I realized that everybody's got a concept. Even scientists have a concept of what reality is. And then I said, well, how does this work in forms of behavior, how we're behaving with one another? Of course, then we have the protests, and then we have the color of your skin. We have Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter. And then I saw all these different aspects of history and how history always repeats itself. And then I said, well, that's beyond color. I said, before you had this, you know, then I looked into the seven cardinal sins, the 7 deadly sins, and all these things wrapped into one thing. And I got one thing, and now I'm going to share it with you first. And I'm writing about it, is that all possibilities are valid. Therefore, all people's point of views are valid. What I find is that we're into this vicious cycle of right and wrong, but God and the universe is beyond right and wrong. And when you get that, then you get beyond the construct that we're living in, and you have miracles happen. And the miracles happen not only by you, but the creator. And the creator cannot be just put in one little shell, right? To me, the creator is all that there is and ever will be, infinity.
Yes.
So that's what I'm writing about. Bruce Lee, to me, represent a possibility that no matter who, what color or race or anyone, right? You are a possibility. And then he was one of the conceivers of a film that I was very depressed when I found out that he, you know, I knew he died, and it was The Silent Flute, later turned into The Circle of Iron, that him and the director, well, there was what, James Coburn and Sterling Silliphant, they conceived it together, and he wanted to do this film before he died. And have all of you guys seen it, The Silent Flute, The Circle of Iron?
No. Yeah.
Okay, so it was about a man's journey, anyone's journey, really. And along the way, that person was trying to find who they were. And does anybody remember what came up at the end of the movie? Should we wait for those who haven't seen it to experience it?
Buzz, kill it. Give it to us, Tom.
Give it away. Give it away. Tell me about it.
Well, let me ask you in one word, no more than one word, what do you think was his answer when he came to the big temple? He fought all these people. He got to the top of the temple, game of death, right? And at the end, there was a grand master at the top that steered him one direction. And when he went there, what do you think, in one word, that he discovered about his meaning of life? What it is, you know, what it's all about, the jewel.
Mirror.
Exactly. So one of the things I'm writing about is how when you take complete honesty, Bruce Lee said, he said that it's very difficult to be honest. And that's because we all want to look good, right? It's very difficult to be honest, he said. And the guy in the interview asked him, well, can you tell us what that statement was, what you said in that interview? And he said, I don't know if you remember. He said, I remember it. He said, empty your mind. Be formless. Be shapeless, like water.
Like water.
Now, water can flow, stream, or crash. Be water, my friend. And in his movie, Enter the Dragon, the kid came up to him, he was teaching him, and he said, don't think logic, right? Concept. Empty your mind, you know? Don't think. Concentrate, don't concentrate on the finger, or you miss all the heavenly glory, right?
Yeah.
And that is the unknown. When you can embrace the unknown and you can be vulnerable and have the courage to be vulnerable, then miracles will be there for you at every turn. But don't do it because it's in order to. Do it because you really know it. And that's what I'm left with.
Wow. Yeah.
That's some deep stuff.
Powerful stuff, man. That's powerful.
Everybody has to find on their own.
Demetrius, why don't you add anything, sir, please?
Well, I'm just grateful that you called me to be a part of this. These are my heroes, you know.
Oh, come on, no.
I've dedicated my life to spotlighting you guys and making sure that people know that we have heroes that look like all of us. And I think that's what Bruce Lee fought for. I was introduced to Bruce Lee, you know, back in the 70s, we jumped on the bed. That was the thing we did. So I'm in my father's room jumping on the king size bed, you know, and I see Bruce Lee, I think it was 1975 at that time. And I just told my father I wanted to do that. I didn't know what that was. I just knew I wanted to do that. And doing so, my father took me down. I was born in DC. He took me down to Jun Ri, Tang Soo Do.
Wow.
1975 at the rec center. So that's where I got my introduction to the martial arts. And through my journey of over 40 years, I was fortunate to meet Grandmaster William Chun in 1990 to learn the Wing Chun style. And as you know, he brought Bruce Lee to Ip Man, Chung Chuk King. And I was grateful to be able to study under him, Wing Chun, along with, you know, many masters from Professor V, obviously, you know, to those, my first instructor, Master Don Batanga. So I was able to take the journey of the martial arts and realize that for me, it's about mastery of self. And if you can master yourself, you can master the things around you. And once again, I'm a fan. I'm grateful just to be in this conversation and to be among all of you guys, and just thank you for just allowing me to grow and allowing me to, you know, just be a part of this great tribute to Bruce Lee.
Anybody on that panel like to add anything? Bobby, Winston?
I'd like to echo those statements, actually. I'm really honored and proud to be a part of this today because, like, as I said, I grew up, I started studying when I was 11 years old. And I started studying, and I didn't know what martial arts was. I was actually a Boy Scout, and it was a badge that we had to take, an interest badge. And they opened a martial arts school at the bottom of my road. And I didn't even know what martial arts was, but I thought, I'm going to go ahead and give that a go. And when I went down there, I remember the first lesson I was doing Lao Ga, which is what I started studying. And I fell in love with it immediately. And I remember at the age of 14 watching Bruce Lee and thinking, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Do you know what I mean? So to be invited on this panel and to be here with such amazing, you guys know me, all of you, is a massive honor for me. And that's what I like to just echo what Dimitri has said, and just, you know, it's an honor for me to be here and to be a part of all of this tonight. So thanks you, Vincent and Cynthia, for inviting me on this.
Yes.
Mr. Warrington, you are there, sir. I think he's there. Let's see, where is Mr. Warrington? Warrington, I don't see Warrington. Brother Warrington, are you there?
He's never been here. I'd never heard his voice.
Bobby, I'll let you have the mic. Go ahead, sir.
Yes. First, thank you, Vincent, Cynthia, my brother, sister. Love you guys for allowing me to be a part of this. Just the mere mention of the word Bruce Lee, it's such a powerful impression upon me growing up. I saw Five Fingers of Death years ago when I was a kid, and that had a profound effect upon me. And I wanted to go to Hong Kong and do movies. Subsequently, I saw Bruce Lee after I saw that Shaw Brothers film. But when I saw Bruce Lee, the effect was just as powerful. The part that I really felt was amazing was Bruce Lee's journey here in America and the pitfalls that he had to rise above in order just to get well known at a time when racism was prevailing in Hollywood. So he decided to go back to Hong Kong, and once he got back to Hong Kong, the game changed. You know, he became an international superstar. I kind of echoed that with my career. When I went to auditions here and I couldn't get the break that I needed, that was part of the reason why I decided to go to Hong Kong. Growing up, there were several people that had a profound effect upon me. One was my godfather, Grandmaster Ron Van Cleef. in the film, looking at his films growing up, it made me understand that as an African American, that I could have an opportunity to go to Asia, Hong Kong, and star in films. So Ron Van Cleef had the biggest effect on me outside of Bruce Lee at that time. Subsequently, continuing my training, I got to know Carl Scott. Most of you, he's another African American who succeeded at Hong Kong. And then my other brother, Tai Mok, his film, The Last Dragon. All of those films and these men in general really gave me the structure and the discipline to pursue a career in Hong Kong. Where I lucked up is, making it to Hong Kong and, being a part of Samuel's stunt group and then having the opportunity to live with him in his home. It gave me an insight into understanding, and I've always wanted to know about Bruce Lee. I never had the opportunity. I knew Brandon, but I didn't know Bruce. So I would pick Samuel's brain as to, his involvement with Bruce and just, live vicariously through him and his stories. And just some of the things that he would tell me, some of the videos that he has in his own personal collection that he refuses to share with the public. I was just in awe. He took a lot of stuff behind the scenes on Enter the Dragon, of which I said, "You've never released this stuff." And he said, "I'm not going to, because it's personal for him." But just having that opportunity to share those anecdotes with him and understand and appreciate how much of effect that Bruce had on the world and me, words can't describe. So I'm just appreciative. I thank you guys for allowing me to join you in this symposium, and I finally get to see my buddy in England, Winston Ellis. I love him dearly. Vincent, man, you and I never crossed paths in Hong Kong, but when we came back, it's been ever since. I love you guys dearly, and I see Rick Baker on here. I never really had a chance to share dialogue with him, but I'm most appreciative of him, and I respect him to the utmost. So, thank you guys for having me.
Thank you, Bobby, as always. Let's hear from Director Art Camacho, sir.
Macho.
I think you must sleep in those glasses, man. Are those...
I shower in them. That's the hard part,
You're the coolest dude around, man. You are the coolest dude around. Come on.
I just got to say a few things. Number one, I'm so blessed. Thank you so much for including me. I'm very humbled to be here in this panel because all of you are just inspirations to me personally. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. And secondly, I really believe that we of our generation, we are so blessed because of Bruce Lee. And I mean that because, I go out a lot and I give a lot of talks and stuff like that, in addition to making films, but there is no other martial artist as influential to people. I mean, there's great MMA champions, kickboxing champions, athletes, but a Bruce Lee. When you think Bruce Lee, you think something that's beyond martial arts, and that's what Bruce Lee is and did for me, and I'm sure for many of us. He transcends the martial arts because, like all of us, we have probably the same story. I mean, I'm a victim of bullying. I mean, I got scars everywhere from getting my butt kicked so many times. And initially, I trained in martial arts because I wanted to beat the crap out of people, plain and simple. But through Bruce Lee and his influence, I discovered who I was. And I was able to channel all that rage, all that whatever we have within us into something more positive, And I'm so lucky and blessed. I'll be honest with you. Recently, I gave a talk to this Latino group, and I was telling them about getting beat up and all this and the Bruce Lee influence. And the biggest thing was, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I got beat up. Because of that, I discovered Bruce Lee. And because of Bruce Lee, I dared to dream and pursue a dream 30 plus years ago in films when I would never have attempted it. And I'm a living testament to the influence of Bruce Lee. I'm a little guy in the business, but I'm just living the dream. And I'm so blessed and blessed to be here. Vincent, Bobby, Cynthia, all my buddies, Ron, my God, so blessed. And that's I'll keep it simple and sweet, but thank you so much. And thank you, Bruce. Happy birthday, Bruce. I mean, to this day, I kid you not a day goes by, believe it or not, that I don't think of Bruce Lee. I mean, I'm again a testament to his influence in this world, and I think each one of us has paid it forward in our own way, whether it's through martial arts, Vincent, through your music, through your acting, through your martial arts. You know, Bobby again. You know, you're amazing.
Thank you,
You're
brother.
amazing.
Appreciate you.
You
Thank
know,
you.
just a quick anecdote with Bobby. I was working with him in Mexico, and again, again, he's very, very talented behind the camera as well as in front of the camera. But when he does his thing, man, it's just so explosive. It's exciting to watch.
I appreciate you. Thank you,
And
brother.
I'm straight. I mean it. I'm straight. I love women, but you're exciting to watch, brother.
I love you, Art. I love you. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Art. Brother Warrington, please add.
I love women too, Art. I love women too.
Brother Warrington, please.
Warrington?
Yes, you know, one of the things that I guess a collateral benefit of the gift that Bruce Lee. Can you guys hear me?
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
See you too.
Even better. So when Bobby Samuels mentioned that Bruce Lee had to go to Hong Kong to get the opportunity, I mean, many ways Bruce Lee's life revealed the fissions in American life, the kind of racial glass ceiling. And by him going to Hong Kong and shattering that glass ceiling and then coming back, that was a whole message about people of color in this country.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, you think about 1920s, people you go to Paris, become jazz musicians. Oftentimes, people of color are just not respected. And so I think that the sense of pride he gave to people of color, the kind of emotional identification. It was there for everybody, whether you be Asian or Latino or African American. That's the real bonding, and that's the kind of collateral benefit, even if it wasn't conscious on his part, because he seemed to be enamored with Hollywood in ways that I personally don't get. But his career, because of his breakthrough, it benefited everybody. But I think the other thing is, I mean, because you guys know me, I'm a very sober philosophical guy, and we should as we do this praise, we have to remember one thing: he died at 33.
Wow.
All of us practice martial arts on this panel.
Yeah.
Think about ourselves at 33. I mean, we're good, but we're better today. I mean, and so as we give respect to his achievement, let's talk about what he would have been if he got to be Grandmaster Ron Van Cleef's age. I mean, the knowledge. I mean, what I knew at 33, I know more now at this other age. And so I just think that particularly in Chinese martial arts, unlike Japanese martial, I'm gonna be biased now. Japanese martial arts is pretty simple. You know, you can learn it pretty quickly. But Chinese martial arts have tremendous complexity that can only be acquired with time. So as we give him respect, just think, this is a man with only those many years of training. I mean, he was a lot more, although he was kind of skeptical about traditional masters. There were a lot of traditional information that he would have gotten over time.
Okay. Somebody's dogs are fighting. Sounds like
There we go.
Thank you.
How about Oso? From Oso.
Vincent, I'm so sorry. I have to get going. I really appreciate it.
Take care.
Love you, brother.
Much love to you guys.
Love you,
care,
Ty.
Ty. Take care.
Safe.
God bless you.
Thank you, Ty. Thank you for the
You out
drilling.
there in Europe, my friends.
Are you saying now that I'm unable to contribute?
No, not at all. Who said that?
Well, first of all, as I always say, in the beginning, in the name of the God, the beneficent, the merciful, the giver and sustainer of all life, and from whom all blessings flow, and to whom all praise is due. In this discussion, the one thing, and it seems as though we're going to be ending this right now, but what I want to say is, yes, I have had the opportunity to meet Bruce Lee. The time was in 1968 at the Washington National Championships that Jun Rhee had. However, when we talk about his influence, I am the person that can say, yes, he did all of that to promote the martial arts around the world. But all credit is due to him for doing that. But what I can say is that Jimmy Jones, Victor Moore, Steve Muhammad, Ron Van Cleef, these were my champions. These are the people who stood out to me, who demonstrated the martial arts. I was able to meet through Grandmaster Ron Van Cleef. He introduced me to Peter Muhammad, Peter Urban, my bad. When we used to go to his house to play chess, Grandmaster Moses Powell, who did so much, Thomas LePuppet, George Cofield, Grandmaster Ronald Duncan. So when we talk about heroes, what I'm telling you, I got mine. These are the men who proved everything on the line. They made sure that the martial arts philosophy and the principle was done. Bruce Lee actually completely helped to promote the arts throughout the world. And I give him credit for that. But he was never a fighter. He didn't fight anybody to prove anything. But the respect for him, I'm giving that up completely. And some of you all may not like what I'm just saying now, but I can defend everything that I am saying. I'm talking about men who have done everything. That's why Demetrius Angelo, Robert Samuels can use my name to promote everything that they are doing, because I know that they love martial arts and they are the people who have done it. Now, I hope, and I apologize if I'm saying something that puts a damper on everything, but I love the fact that when I met Bruce Lee, when he said, yeah, man, that's good. That's what you're doing. Because what he did was elevate the martial arts consciousness to the world. And so I'm going to say, good for you, man. But I got my heroes. I got my folks.
God bless you.
Thank you.
My brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
May I ask a question? It connects what also just said with what Grandmaster Ron Van Cleef mentioned. Grandmaster Ron Van Cleef, you mentioned you were at Los Angeles in '68.
Yes, sir.
And there was a very famous, I use the word controversy, when Vic Moore and Bruce Lee said, "You can't stop my punch." And there's videos I've seen, you were there in person, so free me from rely upon that video. Did Vic Moore stop Bruce Lee's punch or not?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. So
Yes,
I'm jumping in. I'm telling you right now, Grandmaster Victor Moore, in 1967, at the USKA Grand Nationals, I was there when he fought Jim McClain. I have Victor Moore on speed dial. I can call him up right now to prove everything else. Art Machado, Art, sir, trust me, my love and respect for you is deep. I know what you have done and what you have had to go through to get to the level that you are. Trust me. No, I'm just trying to tell you all, and I mentioned this to Sifu Vincent Lin and to Cynthia, who I love dearly, both of them. So if you pull me on, I'm going to tell you all exactly what I'm thinking. Don't even mess around. If you don't want me to say it,
so as I'm facilitating here, I'm going to go back to Warrington because he was asking that question to Grandmaster Ron Van Cleef. So please let Grandmaster Ron Van Cleef answer that question.
Yes, sir.
I got so involved with what Tayari was saying. What's the question?
The question was, did Bruce Lee stop Vic Moore's punch? I mean, vice versa.
Victor Moore
stopped. Bruce Lee
yes.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a long time ago, but as I remember it, he did stop his punch. But the punches were so far away, it's really hard to determine unless you really hit someone, unless you're really trying to hit someone. It's different in an exhibition.
Right.
And when you do an exhibition, the person that throws the punch first is the one that normally wins.
So, however, from your point of view, and you were there in person, the punch was stopped.
Stopped.
All right.
Yes. Yes.
Far away.
I'm going to step in here. This is a good place to end this first panel.
Good move.
So with that,
if it wasn't for Bruce, I'd have never made it to Hong Kong either.
Cynthia, my dear.
I want to say one last thing. When you're talking about the industry, the reason why you have a major studio that put out films today is because of 1973 Into the Dragon, when Warner Brothers, for the first time, a major studio actually did a martial arts film. So you guys should remember that, you know, he is the reason why us people of color have the opportunity, you know, to have the backings, you know, by these major studios, you know, and it started then, 1973 Into the Dragon.
He broke through the glass ceiling. I agree totally. He broke through the glass ceiling.
Demetrius, you are absolutely correct. However, we should also note that it sold a lot of tickets. If no one went to see it, Hollywood would not have made any more. So we'll give the credit to them, but credit to us too, because we were the ticket buyers.
We supported it.
Yes, sir.
Don't concentrate on the finger.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the panel on the first panel. Much appreciated. Cynthia, my dear, please add anything you'd like, your views, commentaries on the first panelist. Thank you.
Well, you know, I love hearing these stories about Bruce Lee because when I started martial arts, it wasn't because I saw someone, you know, that was a hero of mine. I said I wanted to do it. I knew nothing about martial arts. I had no idea what it was. I was 13 years old, and my girlfriend's parents were doing Tang Soo Do, and I would see them do these moves, and I was like, wow, that looks unique. This is something completely different. So I want to try it. So it was much after, you know, when I started getting into martial arts, where I started getting more into the past, the history. And the thing I love is just listening to all these stories, because the first time I became acquainted with Bruce Lee was seeing Enter the Dragon. And for me, it's just so awesome that, you know what, it's been over what 60 years or so, and he still is the most famous popular martial artist of all times that most people know, whether they're martial artists or not. And I remember the first martial art movie I saw was a Jackie Chan movie, and I was so excited. I would go home and I'd practice all those moves, and I loved the acrobatics, and I loved all the crazy things that he did, and that's what I like to do. So I switched to Kung Fu because I wanted to do those kind of moves. When I saw Enter the Dragon, I was like, oh my God, look at this man. He's not doing Jackie Chan moves. He's doing like just a side kick, but it's so powerful, or that one inch punch. And I've realized that from watching a lot of people on film, that Bruce Lee had something that I don't think any of us really can learn. It was something that was internal. He not only did the technique so well, but his whole spirit was there. I mean, it was something that I always look for it and say, how do I get that spirit like Bruce Lee, but, you know, creating my own way of doing it, not the way he did it, because it wasn't acting. It was something that I felt that he did that was real. And I think that's why people loved him, you know, so much. I love listening to Osu, like all the grand masters that were past, but I remember some of them when I was 13 years old would judge me in competition. But I have to say, one of my heroes is Osu, because when I was competing on the East Coast, he was doing like fighting. And at that time, I just started doing like Kung Fu from Tang Soo Do. And it was known around that they said Kung Fu people couldn't fight. And I would get in him and fight so hard. And I go, oh, yes, they can. You look at him, you know, and everything. I don't know if you knew that, but you and Dennis Brown, you were like my heroes. And I remember I was like, I want to train with them, but I'm in Scranton and they're in Washington. And like, I'm only like 15 years old. But I remember I went to Willie Lynn's camp and learned the straight sword because I was like, I want to be like those guys. So you guys like were my heroes up and coming. But even today, you know, I just get inspired by Bruce Lee, just the way his screen presence was. It was so natural, so generic, so true, you know, and that I think, you know, we all would like to get that kind of feeling, but it's not easy. It's something that's internal.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Cynthia. So we're going to jump to the second panel, and it seems that we don't have everybody, as many as we thought. So Rick Myers, Lady Angela from Malaysia. I think that's all we have. The Kings are not present, I believe, Wally. Is that correct?
I'm still here.
So yeah, the Kings.
Oh, excuse me. So I might also add Warrington on this. So it'll be Warrington, Rick Myers, and Lady Angela from Malaysia.
So Lady Angela is joined by David Ho, who is also here, the coach from Malaysia Olympic team. Also, the king's daughter, the princess, is here with us. Our father is driving back from the site of where we're building the temple, the Shaolin temple. The other king is struggling to join, so I'm dealing with all of that. Just so to
fine. Yes, we had two His Royal Highness from Ghana and also from Nigeria. So I guess the princess is on, which is a good thing. So as I said, Lady Angela, Rick Myers, and definitely Warrington, you can certainly add your expertise to this second panel. I'll keep it a little shorter as there's only a few on this panel. And it's the legacy of Bruce Lee in embracing Chinese culture in America and the rest of the world. So Rick, why don't you start that off, please?
Wait, just a quick moment. Let me offer my congratulations and my appreciation to you, sir.
Who? Me?
Absolutely, Sifu Vincent, for your not only martial arts expertise, but your film career that documents all of everything that you have done, but more that's going to come. You have been a voice that is really tremendously needed politically, socially, but in terms of martial arts as well. I want to thank you for everything that you have done in the past and the present. And I can only imagine that it's going to go further in the future. So I'm just saying thank you for allowing me to also be a part of this, especially knowing that there's nothing that I might say that would be upsetting to a bunch of people, but you have done it.
Well, stick around because you're on the next panel.
Hey, Vincent, that journey, I'm hoping to be a part of that journey, Vincent, because we're going to make, as I said, we're looking to do some special things for you next year.
I know, sir. I know that. I'm planning on being in London.
Big plans for you next year. Yeah.
I plan on being in London at the end of January, so stick around too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to jump into that second panel. So, Mr. Rick Myers, do I need to repeat the subject matter? No, I don't.
No, well, you know, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to speak to that anyway.
Okay.
All I can say is, if this is how you honor someone, please don't honor me in the future. In any case.
I guess that's because of my comments.
Actually, this is a great example. You know, again, don't concentrate on the finger. You'll miss all the heavenly glory. You get into the details, you miss the big picture. I'm the big picture guy. I'm very similar to Cynthia in that, you know, Bruce didn't speak to me. In his films, in his early films, it was all about hurting other people and being hurt. And I agreed with La Kalyon, the maker of 36 Chamber of Shaolin and many others who worked with Bruce and was a choreographer at the time, that Bruce was into pain. And one of the reasons that we're talking, I feel, about Bruce now is that he did die at 33. He basically, I was discussing this with all the people in the various genres I worked in, science fiction, fantasy, mystery, the rest of it. We would always get back to Bruce, and we would talk about why he died so early. And we came to the conclusion, probably inaccurate, but maybe accurate, that he committed unknowing suicide. That because he pushed himself so hard and he was so lost during his Hong Kong years as he got everything he ever wanted, and it seemed to overwhelm him to the point where he started treating himself in a way that was asking for what ultimately seemed to happen. I can guarantee you, and I also agree with the gentleman who was talking about, Timac, who's not here at the moment, about, you know, his final films, in that you could see where he was going. You could see he was already breaking the bonds that he had established, that he was about to break out. Kung Fu in general, and certainly Kung Fu film and action movies, would be completely and utterly different, and so advanced had he lived. But the tragedy for me in terms of his culture is that what they did, what China did, Hong Kong did, Hong Kong cinema did to him after he passed. Had they lived up to his legacy, had they done what he instructed them to do in his extensive notes and his hand-picked co-stars for Game of Death, had they made Game of Death and Circle of Iron the way he instructed them to, it would have been a different game. but I also agree with Cynthia, is that they really couldn't, no one could match his energy, his chi, that poured out of him when he performed. Because what he was performing on screen is not what he chose the nunchucks as the stupidest weapon he could use. Because if he used a truly effective weapon, people would hurt themselves. Well, people would hurt other people. By choosing the nunchuck, he's pretty much guaranteed that people would hurt themselves. So, but what they did to Game of Death, what they did to get their revenge on this upstart Chinese and diminished and diluted his work and his message. I mean, I personally feel the finished Game of Death that Golden Harvest and Warner Brothers put out is a travesty, is a criminal offense. It so besmirches Bruce's reputation and Bruce's power and what Bruce gave us. And another thing, you know, you think, oh, so you think you're going to be controversial. I am very tired of fans who want to keep Bruce locked in his 1973 self. I highly suggest to everyone who says they love Bruce Lee to read his teachings and get beyond sticking him an aspect. I say in my book, Films of Fury, the Kung Fu movie book, my documentary on Amazon Prime, Films of Fury, the Kung Fu movie, and as well, I may have even mentioned it in Iron Fist and Kung Fu Kicks on Netflix, that they Life of Brian Bruce. If you watch the Monty Python's Life of Brian, we have a character who says, think for yourself. And his followers just blindly say, yes, Brian, we will think like you think. And people are still copying what Bruce did in 1973 rather than progressing, rather than doing what Bruce would have done had he lived. Yes. All right, that's my tirade. Now, in terms of bringing culture, that's my issue. Because even now, on all the shows that have come out in Bruce's name or in Bruce's reputation, what is it? Warrior, the thing on Netflix, Wu Warriors or whatever, the Wu Battlers. Yeah. Into the Badlands. As far as I am concerned, all of these are chop suey sake. They're white people putting a veneer using Asian actors to put across the same old cliched, stereotypical chop sake suey. And I'm happy with what Marvel is doing with their superheroes because they slip in real kung fu into their films without announcing it's kung fu. And they make clear distinctions between martial arts and kung fu, which is the smarter, the better way. So in terms of the culture, he brought Chinese culture to the world, which then allowed a lot of Guilo and Gaijin to corrupt it and diminish it. And you see what happens to Kung Fu film in the world and what the Weinsteins did to it, trying to hold it back in America. Again, I have a editorial on the Daily Grindhouse called The History of Disrespect. And if you Google that, you can see what I wrote about that. So yes, had he lived, world would be different. Because he died, in came, if you'll excuse the word, the fangouls. That's what I call them, Fanghouls, the fangouls, to turn him into something that I don't think he would be happy with. I'll stop now.
Rick.
Yes.
Just a question and to clarify, are you talking, you're talking about what Bruce Lee actually wrote, for example, his volumes, not the Tao, not the Tao. You're talking about Words of the Dragon.
In other words, talking about, don't quote the Bible to me, quote Jesus Christ.
Right. You're
don't
talking
quote
about
what other people have written about him, quote him.
Right. And so there are these volumes, and that's something that I actually asked, not just, and I think, Vin, I didn't express it well enough about his library, because he has these volumes, Words of the Dragon and, all of these things, Letters of the Dragon, all of these volumes. And, he has many biographies and so on and so forth. His library, as far as collection of books, I mean, that's huge, but he actually had been documented. And the reason why he started Tao of Kung Fu was he was told he couldn't move for 6 months. He was in a brace and he started to write, but that was completed by a bunch of other writers after he passed. And of course, Guru Dan in the Santo. So I just wanted to ask that, Rick. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Don't, yeah, follow him. Don't follow his followers.
And with that, I'm going to follow with, if Lady Angela from Malaysia would like to come on in. My goodness, it's very late and I can't say how thankful we are that you have stayed up. I know it's like must be 3 or 4 a.m. in Malaysia. So thank you so much. Yes. So please, Lady Angela, thank you for joining us. Yes.
Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, apa kabar? I'm Lady Angela. I bring greetings to all of you from the Deputy Speaker's Office of the Malaysian Parliament. I'm the Director General of the World Women Organization. I'm honored to be invited to this forum. Thank you for having me. Martial art is world culture. Every Asian society has its martial art. In Malaysia, our martial art is called Silat Melayu, also known as Seni Bersiladang Melayu, Art of Malay Silat, or simply Silat. This is combative art of self-defense from the Malay war that employ lagang steps and julas movements, through war of or strike assaults, either with or without weapons. Silat traces its origin to the early days of Malay civilization and has since developed into a fine tradition of physical and spiritual training that embodies aspects of traditional Malay attire, performing art, and art. To be honest, I belong to the generation that did not grow up with Bruce Lee. I'm curious, as I'm keen of learning about his legacy and contribution to humanity. This event is an excellent opportunity to hear testimonies from his disciples and better understand how martial art culture has influenced the world positively, especially why the part of Western world is so fascinated by Bruce Lee. I knew nothing about him because we were not taught anything about his legacy. As a person with an Asian cultural background, I'm proud of his contribution, so I want to deepen my understanding of who he was and what he did. In my mind, I'm fascinated about how anyone could bring people together by promoting combative or even self-defense skills. If this could be achieved, I want to learn how I can use it to promote cultural harmony within our organization and our society, and understanding of cultural harmony and gender harmony. I believe that self-defense skill can be empowering. This could be one solution to violence against women. More importantly, I'm here to observe and learn and introduce our commitment to the Malaysian Foreigner Friendship Alliance. We have invited Olympic coach of Malaysian martial national team to honor this occasion. It's my great pleasure to introduce to all of you an outstanding martial representative from Malaysia, Mr. Obon Soon. He will have a speech. He is a Malaysian Chinese. He good at Malayo and Chinese, but I think he will speak Chinese to show respect to this ceremony. He is here to provide a complimentary perspective on the legend and the legacy of Bruce Lee, with a traditional martial arts spirit of Malaysia as our contribution to the cultural exchange. Thank you for your attention. We are proud of opportunity to be part of this event. I'm looking forward to learn from all all the participants here today. I wish the event a complete success. Thank you.
Thank you, Lady Angela. Let me speak to Chinese. OK， 尊敬的女士们、先生们，阿巴嘎巴，我是胡明顺、欧伯顺，非常感谢国会和总干部 Lady Angela 的推荐。作为马来西亚武术的唯一代表，我很荣幸能参加这次的活动。我习武28年，我从1992年开始接触武术，在马来西亚国家体育会以及马来西亚武术总会的培养下，成为了武术国家队队长。在世界赛、亚运会、冬运会、国际锦标赛中获得过金牌。在这个成长的过程中，可以说是武术造就了今天的我，并且将继续影响我这一生的未来。武术运动员和其他运动项目的运动员有些特点是不一样的，最重要的是武德。除了武德，武术界还非常重视对精气神的内在修养。这是一位武者由内至外所呈现的精神面貌、心理素质、风范气度。武术讲究以柔克刚，刚柔并济，富含以和为贵、天人合一的哲学思想。这一些在李小龙先生身上得到了充分的体现。从某种程度来说，东方武术造就了李小龙，而李小龙将武术进一步的创新，结合了现代科学和西方哲学的优势，让世界认识到功夫。这是绝妙的，因为长期以来东方武术更注重以柔克刚，这并不容易拥有说服力。真正实现以柔克刚、刚柔并济目标的第一人就是李小龙。换言之，李小龙是一位成功的向西方世界表达神秘的武术大师。他说清楚了什么是气，并通过现场示范了后先自制的春劲是什么。作为一位教练，我想和大家分享我的心得感受。习武可以改变一个人的品德修养，引导青少年远离不良习惯，杜绝不良倾向，远离恶习，避免误入歧途。因为在习武的过程中，我们有明确的指示，使习武者不至于追求力量。对力量愚昧追求被称为蛮力。武术不是使我们变得野蛮，而是使我们更加文明。因此，身为教练，我们经常提醒学生要注重自身内在修养，在任何时候应懂得分辨是非黑白，并有自己的独特判断力。在此，我要感谢这次峰会给予我参加这次意义非凡的活动，也期待着今天向在座的各位学习。最后，祝此大会圆满结束。谢谢。Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Wally, you're on, and I think Dr. Wally will be reading the translation from the David O. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Just going to do a quick translation of what was said now by Mr. David O. Said, Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Apa Kabar, I am Opo Sun. Thank you very much for the Parliament and the Director General, Lady Angela RM, for their recommendations. As the only representative of the Malaysian martial art, I am honored to participate in this event. I have practiced martial arts for 28 years. I have been in contact with martial arts since 1992 under the training of the National Sport Council of Malaysia and the Malaysian Martial Arts Association. I have served as the captain of the martial arts national team. I have won gold medals in the World Games, Asian Games, Eastern Games, and international competitions. In this growing process, it can be said that martial arts has created me today and will continue to affect my future in this life.
Very good. Very nice.
Martial art athletes and other sport athletes, some characteristics are not the same. The most important thing is martial arts morality. In addition to martial arts morality, martial arts circles attach great importance to their inner cultivation of essence, breath, and spirit, which is the spiritual outlook, psychological quality, and demeanor of martial arts from inside to the outside. Martial art pay attention to overcoming hardness with softness and combining hardness with softness, which is rich in the philosophy of harmony, is the most important, and the unity of man and nature. This is mainly reflected in Bruce Lee. To some extent, the Oriental martial arts created Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee further innovated martial arts combined with the advantage of modern science and Western philosophy and let the world know Kung Fu, which is excellent because for a long time, Oriental martial art pay more attention to overcoming the strong with softness, which is not easy to convince. The first person to truly achieve that goal of combining hardness with softness is Bruce Lee. In other words, Bruce Lee is the first martial art master who successfully expressed the mysterious martial arts to the Western world in a way that they can understand. He made it clear what breath is and demonstrated on the spot what the inch strength of the second mover and the first arrival. And as a coach, I would like to share my views with all of you. Practicing martial arts can change a person's moral cultivation, guide teenagers to stay away from bad habits, put an end to unhealthy tendencies, and avoid going astray. Because in the process of practicing martial arts, we have unambiguous guidance so that the martial arts practitioner are not committed to the pursuit of strength. The foolish pursuit of strength is called brute force. Martial arts do not make us savage, but make us more civilized. Therefore, as coaches, we often remind students to pay attention to their cultivation. They should know how to distinguish right from wrong at any time and have the unique judgment. I want to thank the event for allowing me to participate in this extraordinary event. I look forward to learning from all of you here today. I thank you.
Very good.
Thank you, Wally. Thank you, Wally.
Very good.
Yeah. Warrington, are you there, sir?
Yes.
Yeah.
Warrington? Yeah, if
Yes.
you'd like to add anything to close out this session, please do.
Again, I think that we're talking about a person of tremendous cultural impact. He's as any interesting human being, there's complications. Why he was our vehicle, our conduit to Chinese and Asian culture. He was also a person who was ambivalent about traditional forms of Chinese martial arts. So, but that's to me, this makes him even more interesting.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you. Cynthia, dear, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I just have to say, you know, this is such an eclectic platform for everybody that's watching it because we're hearing like stories like from Grandmaster Van Cleef of people that knew him personally and that could tell personal stories to someone like the next generation like myself that know him through the films, and also the next generation like Angelina who are getting to know more about him. And I think it's so great for martial artists and people that just love martial arts because there's a lot of people out there that don't really do it, but they just like watching it, you know? So it's such a great platform for everybody to be involved in. So great to be here.
Thank you, dear. Thank you.
So let us, with that said, let us jump to the third panel. We're nearly home free. What is Kung Fu? History, philosophy, practice, and discipline.
Sorry. Let's make, first of all, a quick apology for the kings not being here, but don't forget that the princess is here in case she wants to say a word or so. We could let her do that, at least to honor the presence of the king. The reason the kings are not here is, first, the one is trying to get here, might still be able to join us. He's on the road. The other is still trying to connect. I don't know, he's having connectivity issue. But otherwise, if you want the princess to speak, I think that would be good to say something in honor of her.
Please.
And I will make co-host. Lady Jessica, please speak on behalf of your dad, what you know about Bruce Lee and what you think you might want to say, or anything that you want to say in his honor. Please restart your video and make a statement. Thank you. Lady Jessica Latte, are you there? Okay, if you are not able to join us, we will move on.
Okay, so
Thank you, Vincent.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We try.
So third panel, let's see, whoever is present. I'm going to just, the list I have: Long Fei Young, Richard Torres, Paulo Nueve from Portugal, I see you. Gregory Mosley, I see you. Ian Bishop, you there, sir?
I'm still here.
Good, thank you. Warren?
I'm present.
Okay. Danny Chin? No, he left us. Oso? I think he left us. So there we go. We have, I think,
let me just say that as much as I really enjoyed this, unfortunately, I have to go back to visiting children.
Oh, please do, Santa.
So I will be, you'll see me turn into my secret identity, and then I will take leave of you. Have a wonderful rest of the seminar.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good to listen to.
Thank you.
Oh, that's how it starts, huh?
It starts.
Okay. So, yeah, so we have a, let's see, what is Kung Fu? History, philosophy, practice, and discipline. You are all martial arts teachers, and so I'm leaving it up to you. So whoever would like to jump in first, it's up to you. Ian, why don't we go across the pond there and start with you, sir?
Me?
Yes.
You, Bishop.
Whatever you want to say and whatever you want to add to this discussion. Thank you, sir. Good to see you finally.
Yeah, it's good. Thanks very much for asking me to be on.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I got to win my glasses. I can't see a thing without them.
That's okay.
No, it's a great honor to be with these top martial artists. It's a bit nerve-wracking, really, and awe-inspiring. My beginnings are not, they're a bit more humble. I mean, I was born in Cardiff, but I grew up in a mining town called Bather. Small village. All we had was a boxing club, no martial arts. And I started boxing at 5 years of age, 1973, with my father. And then I started, I joined the Cumming District ABC Boxing Club in 1975 when I was 7 years old. Started competing, I had my first few bouts in 1977. I was pushed into boxing really because I was really shy and quiet. So with the introduction of VCRs, I mean, the late 70s, early 80s, we had a VCR, and then we used to have a video shop a couple of miles down the road. So I used to cycle down to the video shop, and the first thing that stuck out for me was the big boss, Bruce Lee. And I took that home, watched that, and it just a spark in me, and I was hooked. And I finished boxing. I boxed for 5 years as a schoolboy, and then I started Lao Ga Kung Fu in 1982. under Frank Lynch, famous martial artist. And I did that for a few years before I went back to boxing as a senior. But Bruce Lee, I got deeper and deeper involved, researching him, studying his books to the fanatical level. And we talk about fighting. You're talking about fighting, tournaments and things like that with rules. Is competition is great, but it's not real fighting. Real fighting is on the street, and that's what Bruce Lee was all about. Even though he did teach and help coach a lot of these tournament fighters, but for sure he was the real deal and not just an actor. He was a martial artist first and foremost, that used film to project his martial art. I feel that was the way he was, but he was definitely a fighter for real, and studied every facet of fighting, not points, not full contact, not in the ring with his rules. I mean, I fought in the ring, and a real fight, the feeling's different, the atmosphere is different. It's all different. You can be an accomplished fighter in the ring, but when it comes to a real fight, you can lose all your nerve, everything goes out the window. It's an entirely different scenario, even though saying the training helps. So anyway, I went back to boxing as a senior light heavyweight. I did that for another 3 years. Then I went back to Laugar. And then in the meantime, I did a lot of CrossFit competitions for about 13 years, athletics. And then I started training some people one-on-one. And my transporter street MMA fighting concept, which is I would say a reflection of Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do. Because when people say they do Jeet Kune Do, I find it quite amusing, because it was his own personal art for himself, not for other people. So to say, what you should say really is, I do my own interpretation of Jeet Kune Do. Through my own perceptions. So I called mine Transporter Street MMA, transporter being a vehicle, boat, car, train, anything. Get in where you want to get in, get out where you want to get out. So you just use it as a vehicle to get to where you want to go. So it runs parallel, I would say, with Bruce Lee's ideals and philosophy. And that's how, and still today, I'm still streamlining it because it's a concept. Becoming a master and a grandmaster, if you can picture like a fixed idea which never changes, then you can master that idea. But then to say have a flow in it like a torrent of water, you can never master it. So then it becomes a concept which is constantly changing. It has to evolve, not for the sake of it, but it just evolves over time. And I feel if you're going in the right direction, then things fit into place for you, the individual. So what I do, Transporter Street MMA, is my concept. So when I teach it, but the person that is taught doesn't have to, it will always be slightly different. So I try and bring out the best in that person, because what's right for me is not right for them. Whereas a style, one size fits all, like a suit off the rack. Everybody's trying to cram themselves in to somebody else's idea. So I try to use the best of what a person has to offer when I'm coaching myself personally. And I'm still learning all the time. And I learn even off a total novice, where I teach somebody something, will show me a different way of teaching that. And it all comes from Bruce Lee, studying his techniques to a fanatical level, his mindset, his creativity. So without Bruce Lee, there definitely wouldn't be my concept. There wouldn't be a me. There would be, I wouldn't have any world records. I'm like 8 world records for fastest punching, all because of Bruce Lee's body mechanics, studying it fanatically, training in a certain way. And it's all thanks to him, even though I never met him. I feel I understand him as how he was, and I think he'd be. So my transport street mirrors, I would say, Jeet Kune Do. It reflects Bruce Lee's ideals interpreted through my own perceptions. So, and I got nothing but admiration for Bruce Lee. I got nothing but admiration for the fighters as well, because it takes a lot of guts and determination, of fitness and training to get into the ring or on the mat and compete. But like I said, Bruce Lee wasn't about competition. He wasn't into it. He didn't believe in it. For him, it was about totally and honestly expressing himself through physical movement and the philosophy. And he was definitely an out-and-out fighter, not a competition. I won't say use the word player, because that's not right, because some of the fighting is really hard, but there are rules, and there's someone there also to enforce the rules. Whereas when you're in a real fight, you could die. And most people I know, and I've seen people in real situations run away, even when they can look after themselves, or they're a black belt, or they're this, or they're that. So a real fight, a real situation is different. And Bruce Lee's had, it's noted on numerous occasions where he's had many confrontations. So if we're talking about competitions and different things like that, then you're talking about something else that really wasn't, Bruce Lee wasn't really interested in, even though he helped a lot of tournament people in the way that they train. Because with his interception method, there's so many things I could go on and on about Bruce Lee. His effect on me has been dramatic, and it continues to inspire me to keep on going.
As it does.
Really.
Yeah. Thank you, Ian. I much appreciated that you're here with us today. Thank you for your insight. And your
Thank you very much.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for asking me so much.
No,
I feel humbled to be here. I mean, to me, I think I am the probably the, say, a martial artist is fairly well known, but the poorest.
It doesn't matter. That's nothing to do with it.
So everything I do, what I'm saying, everything I do is, I find that when you're training in a way that Bruce Lee trained, because that's the way I do it, I find it more difficult, especially today, in today's day and age, that people, everybody wants the quick fix. I'm not into the cage thing. Learn half a decent few kicks half-heartedly, and then grappling, when in reality a lot of the moves are cancelled out when you can use your teeth and bite someone's ear off, or you can, you know, as Bruce Lee would bite your throat out, and all these different, so everything has its place. So when you're looking at fighting as it is really in totality, then everything is used. So for me personally, I'd rather stand on my own 2 feet and fight, and not really roll around on the floor with a madman that's going to bite my nose off. And I think that was his mindset,
right?
Basically, for me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'm going to bring it back over to this side of the pond. Gregory Mosley, sir, in New York. Fire away.
Yes, I'm far away. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are.
Okay, great. Now, when you started talking about biting, I immediately thought about Mike Tyson. I don't know why. But anyway, yeah, Kung Fu is a way of life. Kung Fu has influenced so many people over the centuries. And it began as a way of life because, as we all know, and some people may not know, you know, Indian priests came over to Sung Mountain and started teaching. Started teaching exercises to keep the monks awake, because they were really not in the greatest of shape. So they couldn't go through the Zen meditation that they had to go through. And because they were getting robbed constantly on their retreats, they developed into a fighting art. But anyway, we talk about Bruce Lee. I'm a Tracy Kempo guy. And Grandmaster Al Tracy, God rest his soul, he passed a couple of years ago. But Ed Parker, when he first came when he was teaching in California, someone came to him and said, listen, there's this guy in San Francisco. Sifu in San Francisco, you really got to see this guy. He is so fast and powerful. And Parker said, yeah. No, you got to really, I think you need to go to San Francisco and check this guy out. And he did. He went over to San Francisco and he met Bruce Lee, and he invited Bruce Lee to his tournament that he was getting ready to give at Long Beach. And that's when Bruce Lee did his demo. And there was a producer there that was looking for as we know, a Kato. And that's how Bruce Lee got his part as Kato in the Green Hornet, through Ed Parker. And they became great friends. As a matter of fact, Leo Fong, there's a story about Leo Fong bringing Bruce Lee over to Grandmaster Al Tracy's school. And said, this is Bruce Lee, and introduced him. Says, well, he said, can he go on the floor and train with some of your black belts? I said, sure, we can do that. So they said that one of the black belts, Kempo's pretty fast. We believe in rapid hand, movements. So one of the black belts threw a punch at Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee chased him down the floor. And Al Tracy turned red.
We lost you. Uh-oh.
Where's he gone?
He just disappeared.
Well, I was getting into that.
I know, really. What happened there? Ah, goodness. Warren, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Why don't you take over for a minute? If he comes back on, we'll switch it around. Go ahead, Warren. Sorry.
No worries, no worries. Hi, everyone. It's really good to see and hear so many interesting and wonderful.
Technology 2020. You know that's downhill, right?
This is expected, I guess. I wanted to start with a supposed quote from Bruce Lee. I like to think of myself as a human being because under the heavens, under the skies, there is but one family. The function and the duty of a quality human being is the sincere and honest development of potential and self-actualization.
Amen.
I grew up watching Bruce Lee movies and Kung Fu movies and the Wire Fu and all this kind of stuff. And given where I grew up in pretty bad inner city. And to see a example of, regardless of your circumstances, regardless who you are, regardless of your social economic status and things of that nature, this was a vehicle for self-development, personal development, and it was up to you for the most part. And I'm the only child, and I grew up in I grew up in Bronxville Projects area. And I was the only child, so I had to learn some kind of martial arts to survive, literally. Bruce Lee, from watching his movies and eventually learning that he actually was kind of a bit of a philosopher. And I have mixed ethnic background, and seeing that you can actually take from different cultures, different point of views, and in this case, different martial arts, when particularly that kind of thing wasn't the most popular thing. If you did judo, you're a judo person. If you did karate, you're a karate person. If you did different forms of kung fu, et cetera, you only stuck to that martial arts. But because the reason why I originally wanted to learn martial arts was to defend myself and be able to take myself out of harm's way, him opening up that kind of eclectic thinking really helped in my journey in the martial arts, and helped me be a lifelong student, in terms of that I don't have any fixed narrative that this is the way you do it because this is how it's going to happen, et cetera, I learned from him, you take whatever tools that are efficient or partially efficient and change it towards your needs. The only last thing I really want to say, because I want to keep my part short, is that through my years of, I should mention that I'm a 5th Dan in V Ernest Jiu-Jitsu. So I'm under Professor V, who's directly under Professor David James. So I'm a 5th Dan in V Ernest Jiu-Jitsu, and I also competed in full contact stick and knife fighting in Baka Bakan and various tournaments around the US. But the last thing I wanted to say, no one ever explained this to me, but because of the influence from Bruce Lee and the influence of just thinking about martial arts and people and culture and et cetera in a more critical fashion, I actually break martial arts down into 3 categories. The first category is expression, martial culture. Every culture has a martial art. The Israelis have Krav Maga, the Russians have Sistema, the Brazilians have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Capoeira, and the list goes on and on. So it's cultural expression, a way to pass down some kind of tradition, in this case in combat form, and expression and maybe moving meditation. The second category is competition, which everything is geared and changed towards competition, particularly long competition. And a good example of that is Judo. Judo supposedly came out of Jujitsu, and the supposed founder changed Judo, took out the strikes, changed Jujitsu rather, took out the strikes, took out most of the locks, holds, and chokes, and et cetera, and mostly streamlined it towards a competitive takedown art, so to speak. And the last category is personal protection, where everything is geared towards the society and the culture and the region that you actually live in, and the things that are available to that particular time period you live in. So it has to be, and it has to deal with the situations that you will deal with in that society. And that's pretty much all I wanted to say. I'm just really grateful to hear such a wonderful experience from all these beautiful and intelligent martial artists from around the world.
Thank you, Sensei Warren. I'm going to get back to you in a second, Gregory. We seem to have lost you a few minutes ago. I'm going to get back to you. Let's just go across again over to the pond in northern Portugal. Sifu Paulo Nueve, please go ahead, sir.
Hello.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for the invitation, Sifulin. Hi, everybody. I'm very pleased to be here in this event with all of you. Bruce Lee always influenced my entire life in martial arts, because I start martial arts because of him. And after about 35 years of study and training in many different styles of martial arts, even today, sometimes I go back and take all the teachings from Bruce Lee. Okay, I see the movies, I read about his quotes, everything he have accomplished, and his entire life. This is very important for me, because this is where I have grounded all my experience in martial arts. So today I have no words to express my joy being here with all these persons. Some I know personally, like yourself, for example, and I have met also personally Cynthia a few years ago in Italy. Hi, Cynthia. The rest of the people, much of them, I know they from magazines, from movies. So I think martial arts is really a big family, and styles on only branches of the same tree. So martial arts they are in my blood, and Kung Fu especially, because it's my main style. Kung Fu for me is life. Is my life, is a way of living, is a way of life, and also a state of mind. That's all I have to do to you. So thank you for the invitation, and I hope to see you soon.
I hope, definitely.
And I wish Merry Christmas to all of you, and bye-bye, Cynthia. I hope you remind me.
I hope to see you in Italy next year.
He's in Portugal, dear.
Oh, yeah, Portugal. What am I? Oh, I'm.
It's close.
Oh, so he could go from Portugal to Italy to the Italy Hall of Fame.
Oh, you mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's close. Let's go there.
was in
Paolo?
2018 in Sifu Paulo Cangelosi school.
Yeah. Oh no, I love Paulo. One of my.
Yeah, he's my Sifu
From
in traditional Kung Fu. Yes. We meet there in Genoa.
Thank you, Paolo. Let's peace. Let's go back to Gregory. You're going to round it out, sir. Let's hopefully you don't.
Vincent, can I just? I have to. Vincent, I have to go.
Okay,
my daughter has to be put to bed. So
thank you. God bless.
Well, thanks very much, Raspy. And it was fantastic to hear from Cynthia Rothrock, one of my heroes.
Yes,
it's just amazing.
Nice to meet you here. Hope to see you.
Thanks very much. Bye. Bye.
God bless. Ian, Gregory, go ahead, sir.
Yes. Well, I was talking about how fast Bruce was. Like I said, he Ed Parker, Grandmaster Ed Parker, went over to San Francisco. When he saw Bruce move, he said, "Wait a minute." He says, "I want to have you do a demonstration in my tournament." And that's how Bruce ended up at that tournament and did his demo. And there was a producer. Ed Parker hired a producer to film the tournament. And there was a producer. The producer, I think called the director, or the director was there, that was involved with the Green Hornet. And that's how Bruce got his part. Once he saw Bruce do his thing, he said, "Uh-oh." He says, because he asked Ed Parker, "Do you know any martial artists that that I could use in the movies?" When he saw Bruce, that was it. It was sold. And I like the fact that when Grandmaster Cynthia Rothrock was talking, that's a call to action. When we talk about the benefits of the martial arts, body, mind, and spirit, that's what people need now. They're going to need us more than ever now. And all your senseis and sifus, grandmasters, and masters who are participating or listening, there's going to be a call to action for you, because people are really going to need you. And I was listening to Grandmaster Demetrius, and how many people raise their hands? If you don't want to raise your hand, it's fine. But how many people, when Bruce Lee came out with his movies, made their nunchucks and got in trouble with their parents making nunchucks out of broom handles?
Oh, yes, I did.
Put a string around it because they couldn't afford, maybe the parents wouldn't want to buy them nunchucks, but they made their own nunchucks and used that instead. But anyway, he has such an influence on people. And also, Grandmaster Tariq Cassell is right. What Bruce did was bring the students in, because not all people, audience went to tournaments, but the fact that a lot of people wanted to be like Bruce Lee. So once they got into school, then people like Grandmaster Tom the Puppet, and you mentioned Grandmaster Jimmy Jones, all those people took over from there and created a lot of great students as well. Now, I've been to Jimmy Jones's house in Chicago, and Grandmaster Jimmy Jones has everything. He has pictures of he and Bruce together. He has great videos, and they used to call him Mr. Chicago because he actually was one of the biggest martial art instructors in Chicago. And Grandmaster Tariq Cassell and Grandmaster Ron Van Cleef can attest to that, because I know they've probably been in his basement. He doesn't let everybody in his basement. Anyway, Bruce Lee has such an influence on our culture. He was a cultural person. Like Wally mentioned in the other tribute we had, that he wore a daishiki. He loved jazz. He was very cultural, and he was very open to teach anyone from any style. As we all know about Jesse Glover. Jeffrey Glover was one of his best students. God rest his soul. Bruce Lee has such an influence on the movies as well, because a lot of people got their parts in movies because of the barriers that Bruce Lee broke. So that's one contribution that Bruce Lee did other than his physical martial arts. Bruce Lee was always researching. He was always researching technique all the time, how to maybe Greek wrestling. He had like a library of over 200 or 300 books. He was always researching. And like Grandmaster Dan Inosanto said, that the style that he was teaching then would be different now. That's why it's always evolving. They're always adding things to it. That's what Bruce Lee wanted the style to be. And as a human being, we're always evolving. We're always learning, always making ourselves better. And that's what martial arts is about. And that's how you apply martial arts to everyday life. Making yourself a better person so you could be a better person to the people around you and influence the people around you to be better people.
That's correct.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, quite welcome.
Thank you, Gregory, Sensei Gregory. Ma'am Rothrock, I'd like to tie off that third panel before we get to the last panel, please. Anything for you to add?
Well, you know, I'm just enjoying it here. Thank you for telling me at the last minute about this. I just got in late last night. My mind is all like in a fog, so I'm really enjoying this, and it's always fun to be part. And I want to thank everybody that was on the panel for all the informative knowledge that we've gathered today and the stories. And I do have one story though. Here's a Bruce Lee story I have. So I was in Hong Kong, and I was with Mong Hoi, and Mong Hoi brings this machine, and he said that our prop guy created it, and he created this machine for Bruce Lee as well. And the premise of this was something like electricity shoots all through your system, and that your body will get really, you know, like muscular and tight and firm through the use of electricity. And it went on a 1 to 10. And he was doing it because he said Bruce Lee used this machine, that this prop guy had made it for Bruce Lee. So he told me to try it not just on one, and you hold these two handles, and when I hit it, I was, oh my God, it was like, I couldn't even stand like it on one. And he said that Bruce Lee had it up to 10. And then he got so used to that he wanted even more. And then the stunt guy, you know, the prop guy said he didn't want to make it anymore because it could be like dangerous. So it's kind of somehow, you know, there's a lot of stories out there about Bruce Lee's death, but what Mong Hoi believed is that he was getting so much electricity to his system that might have caused the aneurysm. But I think, you know, that he was always like looking for ways to better himself, you know, to better his body, to better his performance, mentally, you know, to help everybody out, philosophy-wise. And it was just an interesting little thing, like this little machine that he used to use to train. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, let's not all try that, please. Don't go home and don't start. We all made nunchucks, but let's not start making, you know, pull out the car batteries out of the cars and start making electrical conduits or something.
Is there somewhere we can order that?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Okay, so look, I really appreciate you all waiting, especially the last panelist. And I think we have been trying to get Hector on for the last 3 hours, and he just has not been able to somehow connect. But Charles Damiano, Ricky Baker, great to see you, sir. From where are you living, in London, sir?
I'm in Tier 4 London right now.
Oh my God, Tier 4! You should be wearing your mask. Why don't you put your mask on, man?
It's a real welcome treat for a Sunday night because you can't do anything, so we're locked in. And
oh God, man, oh man. And Seaton Chang on the West Coast, sir. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Great to see you. Wow, it's been a long time. I think the last time we saw each other was at the Bruce Lee and Brandon Lee Memorial Banquet.
That was the first time. The last time we saw each other was at the Urban Action Showcase.
Oh, yeah. What am I? God, where's my memory? Julie.
Seaton came to visit me on my last set when we were on the movie. He flew all the way in to come visit and say hi. So that was kind of cool, right?
Wait. Leila.
Let's see. Okay, we're doing so. Charles.
Yes, I'm here.
Good, Ricky and
present
and Seaton. So look, this is the phenomenon of Bruce Lee as a world culture collector's exhibition. So why don't we start on the other side of the pond? It's late for you, so I'll let you go, Ricky. Go ahead, sir.
I know it. Thank you for inviting me here this evening. It's a really nice thing to be doing because we're in lockdown here in Tier 4, and it's pretty awful because Christmas just around the corner, and we had a lot of plans. We've had to scrap them all. So I'm sure Winston's having the same, and Ian who live over this side as well. But yes, okay. So I'll kick in then. So yeah, I've been sort of doing this for a long time now with my company Eastern Heroes, and again, I'm old enough to be there at the start of the Bruce Lee craze. Back in the Midlands, when I first actually I saw Bruce Lee in a newspaper clipping when he died in the Sun newspaper here, and he was in a tiger skin, and that's how we first. And for some reason I got transfixed by this picture. I don't know why, because I've got a very short attention span. I didn't realize that all these years later I'd still be doing Bruce Lee, martial art club spun up around me. And I remember the first club that we went to, ironically, it was a guy called Ron Weatherall, and there was these two huge black guys with massive afros. And as we walked to the door, we had to lie down and be punched in the stomach to see if we were, it was just like a movie scene. You know, we thought it was all part of it was all part of it. You know, it's like a movie scene. We're going in. And of course, we wanted to just learn flying kicks and nunchuckers, but it wasn't that way. I actually ended up doing karate for many years and fighting for England in Shukukai karate. But move on a bit forward, and later down the line, I started up my first real venture to start Eastern Heroes, which was my company, which was going to end up promoting the artist, etc., was Jackie Chan. So we started up the unofficial Jackie Chan fan club back in 1988. And we got so much, this is before the internet. And I think before the internet came about, it was a much more exciting time, because if you wanted anything, you had to go hunt in the video shops. You had to buy Combat Magazine or MAI or Black Belt. So we were like the drug dealers of Kung Fu. Because within a year, I linked up with one of my closest friends, Toby Russell, who was living out in Hong Kong, and he'd learned Cantonese, and he'd come on board, and he was coming back to England. But at this stage, he'd met so many people. He'd been on the set of all the Shaw Brothers sets. He got to know Jackie, and they were he found it quite easy, because at the time that they were quite surprised to see a white kid who was trying to hang around the sets, and so they accommodated him. So we got together and we formed Eastern Heroes, and I was with another guy called Chris Alexis at the time, the three of us, and to sort of get the message out there, we decided to bring back late night Kung Fu, and we did a triple bill at the Scala Cinema in London, where we showed Shanghai Express, Eastern Condors, and Project A2. It was a great triple bill. The crowds went around when we arrived at 8 in the morning, the doors weren't opening until 12 or 1 o'clock, and there was a queue way round. And at that time, a lot of people who were into the Hong Kong cinema didn't really have people in their families, so it was like a get together. A lot of good friends. The one good thing say about Hong Kong cinema, it's made a lot of friends. People you still know to this day that were into it, or got married now and got kids. And we decided to do our first event, and our first event ever was with Cynthia. And she remembers that. I know she does.
Yeah.
In 1989, because you lost your luggage.
I remember that. You had to go buy me something to wear.
I had to buy you something, the most expensive tracksuit on the thing. Yes, we did. We had to go.
I remember Chris wanted to auction it off after I wore it.
He did, yeah, that was a treat. We had to get our money back. It was such an expensive tracksuit in 1989. Well, I think it was 89, wasn't it, when you come in? Was it 89? Can you remember?
Yeah, I do. I was teaching a seminar, I remember, right?
You did a seminar at the ladies' YMCA.
Yeah.
And then we did the cinema with me and you on stage.
Yeah.
We were going to screen China O'Brien, but they wouldn't let us screen it in the end. They pulled it at the last minute, so we had to think we put on Blonde Fury with Vincent. And we did that, and then afterwards we did the restaurant with Chung's restaurant.
Yeah, I see
it's a
some,
lot- I mean, that's
some
a-
pictures from it.
Sorry?
I still have some pictures from the restaurant.
It was a long time ago, and I think you stayed and remember we put it on the front of Combat Magazine as well, didn't we?
Right, yeah, I
In
remember.
that tracksuit.
Put that tracksuit on too.
And
I was like,
that
oh, they couldn't have got a better picture for the cover.
That tracksuit, you know, and it was that was expensive. Do you know how much that back then it was expensive? It looked good. It looked good, and it was a great. That was our first. Nobody ever brought over a Hong Kong star or a martial art movie star. We were the first people to do it, and it got packed. It was really interesting. It was interesting because it brought a lot of women. We thought it was a very men-orientated industry, and a lot of girls turned up, and especially that. My mum came. I got photographs of you, my mum. You and the stepdad. It was a really good weekend, and it was really. I think before the internet, you could guarantee if you did an event, people would come. Nowadays, if you want to bring a star in or something, you've got to get the bums on the seats, and you can't always do that, you know. I remember going to ask Bolo if he wanted to come over. We wanted to go into the Dragon, and we stopped him in Hong Kong, and I said, Bolo, and he come over, and I said, I'd love to bring you to the UK. Because I would love to come. I said, the crowds will go crazy. He goes, yeah, but I don't want to talk about Bruce Lee, and I don't want to talk about, I'm a singer now. I want to sing my latest album. I said, I want to sing my latest album. And I said, nobody will come for that. He said, no, honestly, he said, I've got a guitar, I'm going to sing. And he was serious. He wanted to come on. Hector Martinez has just come in the room.
Yeah.
What's up, Ricky?
It's only taken you 2.5 hours. You made it. Okay.
So we asked Bolo, and all he wanted to do was sing. He didn't want to do nothing else. And then the next time I saw Cynthia, we was at the California, the film market. Me and you went to see Once Upon a Time in China in America with a few of us. I think it was Steve Tattaglia, me, you, and another guy. There was a few of us. Do you remember going to see that film? I bet you've forgotten.
Where was that at?
At the AFM, is it the American Film Market by Venice Beach?
Right, yeah. Oh, geez.
And we all stood there and you said, let's go and see the Jet Li film. And we went in and saw Jet Li. So, and then also, then later on the line, I've got compromising photographs of Vincent with my mum.
Whoa. Everybody's got compromising photos of me. What is that?
And on the same day,
a bloody booklet on that stuff.
On the same day,
we all have compromising photos of Vincent.
Thanks a lot.
Honestly, my mum was a bit flirting. She's grabbed Vincent. and he isn't resisting at all. But just to add to doing that, on the same bill, after she grabbed Vincent, she went and got hold of Lauren.
Oh, that's right, in Birmingham. Yeah.
In Birmingham at the Octagon.
Yes. Gee, my God.
And you was there. You remember that, yeah? I got the photos.
I remember it well. Yeah.
And then I think, so just a long story short, so we brought Cynthia in, and it was such a success that after that we decided to try and make more regular events. But also everybody wanted Bruce Lee to come in. And so what I did was I was the first person to start bringing in Bruce Lee students. It was the nearest they could get to Bruce. So we brought in Joe Poteet. We got Jim DeMille on stage doing a 1-inch punch. We had Larry Artsell. We brought them in. Actually, I brought them in with Bay Logan at the time. And we brought them in and we did the events around them. And so it was very hard to do something around, even though we were really Bruce Lee fanatics, it was very difficult. I think the worst thing for me is that during that time, Brandon come over and we was going to go and see Brandon. And on that day, the IRA blew a bomb up in London. And so the taxi driver wouldn't take us very far. So we had to walk. And by the time I got to the venue, they were packing up. And I said to us, we can't, let's go. I just yelled out, Brandon. And he's looking around and says, we've just come through a bomb to get to you. And he didn't know what. He came over and said, what? I said, there's a bomb just gone off. We've just come to try and meet you. And he said, okay, and he took us into the radio station with him, and we had this great chat. And he said to me, you know what? I said, would you like to come and do an event here? And he said, I'd love to. And I said, he said, well, why don't you come over to America? He said, and I'll show you some of my dad's stuff. And of course, my heart was, I said, I'd love to. And then sadly, just a few months later, he'd been over doing rapid fire. I got the call that he was dead, and that was a real blow to me. You know what I mean? Because it was just so tragic. You know what I mean? To see the son, after seeing Bruce Lee gone, to see his son, who I just got to know quite well. You know, just go. Very tragic. But out of that, just trying to stay more focused on Eastern heroes, we then decided to start bringing other people in. So then I brought in Gordon Liu to sort of the Shaw Brother films, and then we did Jet Li, and then I did Chow Yun Fat. It was great. And then we did Donnie Yen, and then Maggie Chung, and then, you know, the last couple of years, we went more for the old time stars. We brought Wong Jong Lee in. I know Cynthia knows about Wong Jong Lee in. And this guy, it was incredible. We had the Seni event, and he was about 71, 72. And his ability when he did the seminar was he did this kick and he looked in such good shape. And so, you know, and we sat him down waiting for the taxi, and I said to him, let's put on invincible armor, you know. And I said to the audience, we're going to put invincible armor on. You can say to your grandkids, you watch this with Silver Fox. And I said, is this your best film? He goes, I've never even seen it. They never even bothered watching their films, you know, never even seen it. It was so humble. But then I brought Wong In Sik in, and he'd worked with Bruce in Where the Dragon, and he'd called me, and we went out for dinner one night, and he was talking about Bruce, and he said to me, look, you know, I know everybody wants me to talk about Bruce, you know, but he's, you know, I said, no, you're your own master, you know, you should talk, but they are interested. And he said, you know, I had dinners with Bruce. And he said, he said, my thoughts are, whether you want to believe me or not, he said, you know, I was helping Bruce a bit with his kicking. We were rehearsing, was going to do the game of death. And he said, he had anxiety. He was so worried about some things. I don't know what it was. He felt almost quite lonely. But he believes that if Bruce had pursued his martial art career and rather than craving for fame, he said, my personal belief is he'd be alive. And that was his feeling. He said, you know, if he'd have stuck to his art and maybe not championed the film scene so much, maybe he would have been alive. And it's another tale. I don't know whether that'd be true or not. But I mean, the Eastern Heroes label, it's never really gone away, but we are going to relaunch it next year. And we're going to try and get some guests to come over. We'll see who's available, because it does help, because people in the UK don't see that many people. So okay, if you're in America, you know, I went over to Hong Kong, we met with Samo, you know, I've been lucky to meet with a lot of people, you know, all my idols, but they're all getting quite old now, and it's a little bit more difficult to convince them to come over.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ricky. I much appreciate it.
I'll jump off.
No, it's all right. I got to. Let's go way over to the West Coast. Seaton, would you like to add anything, sir?
I was so intrigued listening to Rick Baker that I kind of forgot what I was going to say now. Okay, so I guess I should start by saying that I did contact Shannon. Shannon, I emailed her about a week and a half ago when Vincent first told me about this. And I did warn Vincent, you know, Shannon has like 7 different jobs, and she confessed herself that she's really bad about getting back to people, including me. So
I appreciate you reaching out there. Thanks so much.
We are missing Shannon in this panel thing. So I did try, but
God bless. Thank you.
So now I forgot what else I was gonna say. Oh, darn. Oh, I was gonna say a funny story that Vincent, you just mentioned earlier. You said you were talking to David O, and you were saying, can we get a translator for his Cantonese?
I could have asked you.
Actually, he was talking Mandarin.
Yes, I know that. Yes.
Yes, which actually reminds me of a funny story that nobody really knows. If you remember the Greenhorn episode, which everyone really likes, one of the favorite episodes is the Praying Mantis episode with Mako. And if you remember at the end of the episode, and Jimmy Key is yelling at those Chinese guys before Bruce starts fighting Mako. And Jimmy Key, like what you just did, he's actually yelling at them in Mandarin. And Kato, you see Kato, he's translating to the Green Hornet what he's saying. But in real life, Bruce didn't just speak Mandarin, he spoke Cantonese.
Right.
Which what you just did now reminded me of that scene. So it made me laugh. But there's really not much more to say. I mean, everyone's already said everything. And what more can I add that has not already been said? There's really nothing. But all I can say is his legacy. It's amazing. He's been dead for like 47 years, and here we are talking about him on his early 80th birthday, and that his legacy has brought people from so many genres together, like martial arts people are unrelated, like collectors, fan collectors. Rick Baker is talking about bringing people to England, and how we are talking right now. It's just amazing.
But Seaton, I have a question. What is your most precious collection item?
Probably Bruce Lee's autograph. If you can hang on a minute, let me go get it, and I'll show it to you guys.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Give me about a minute. I'll come back.
I'll authenticate it.
Hector, while you're standing there, go ahead, sir. We'll wait for Seaton to come back. Go ahead, sir. You're standing in front of that crazy collection, so why don't you show us a few new pieces? And glad you made it finally.
Well, thank you so much. Greetings from New York City.
Woo!
All right.
Greetings from London.
What's going on, everybody? I want to introduce you to somebody. Hold on.
Oh dear. You never know with Hector what it could be.
Oh, okay.
All right. There you go.
Amazing.
Oh.
Man, that's it.
Well, this was actually made by a friend of mine in California. His name is Joe Dickerson. And what he did was that he took Bruce Lee's life cast and he remolded it, and he added some eyes and he added some hair and he colorized it, and he made it into this. You know, I've been a fan of Bruce Lee since 1967 when I first saw him in the Green Hornet. And I was born in 61. So I'm 59 years old and I'm still a fan of Bruce Lee. I'm not a martial artist per se. I'm more of a collector, but this is my personal Jeet Kune Do. This is my personal way of expressing my gratitude, my respect, and my passion for Bruce Lee. So
hold that thought, Hector. Hold that thought. Seaton, please. We're going to find back to Seaton for 1 second. Go ahead, sir.
Gotcha.
Okay, actually, what I was trying to look for just now was that I have a credit card. Can you guys see me? Because that says here, please.
Yeah, we can.
Oh, there. Okay, so I have a credit card receipt, but it's somewhere and I can't find it right now. It's going to take too long to find. But I did find something else, a different autograph, because I have 2 Bruce Lee autographs. If you guys can see this, this is on just a regular sheet of paper. Can you see it? I'm trying to get it close, but
yep.
They're Bruce Lee.
Where did you get that from, Seaton?
I got it from Perry Lee, who is a big Bruce Lee collector. Have you guys heard of him, Perry Lee?
Yeah.
And I think he got it from Linda, so I know it's authentic, because anything that I get from Perry Lee is good. So he's also the only Bruce Lee collector in the world that I know of who's met Bruce Lee. Can you guys all see this? It says something Kato.
We see it. We can see it.
Okay.
I don't see it. I can't see it, Vincent.
Okay. And if you look really close, in the top, it says Flight 93. So it looks like he was signed it on an airplane, because it says
Like a
Flight
luggage
93. Can you guys see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Flight 93, and it makes more sense that he would sign it on a regular sheet of paper and not a photo, because who would have a photo of him on an airplane? It would just be on a regular sheet of paper. So, which actually kind of adds to the credibility that it's real. Okay. And also, if you look here, I have his business card. So it's nothing special. It just says Bruce Lee and his logo, and on the back, there's just plain white. And also, here's something else. One of his better, more
that's what it
more
was
fancy.
cards, yeah?
Yes, it's a hologram paper, holograph. Can you see it? I don't know which school he did what this is from. I think this is from his Seattle school. Jun Fan Kung Fu Institute. I think that was in Seattle, right?
It was.
Yeah. And if you look at the back, it's got all the the Chinese characters for the student to sign his name and rank and all that. I don't know if you guys can see this.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. I'll read it to you for those of you who can't see. Address of institute, phone, recommended by, remarks, and then the bottom says, please bring this card with you. That's all written in Chinese also. So
Great. Thank
these
you.
I got from Perry.
Thank you, Seaton. Much
Yeah.
appreciated. Go back. Hector, go out. Go ahead. Continue, sir.
Well, being that Seaton shared with you a personal business card, I would like to share with you my personal business card. And this one is from 1967. And what's very special about it is that Bruce, in his own handwriting, he wrote down the address to his Kung Fu school in Los Angeles.
Yes.
And then on this side, this is written in Danny Inosanto's handwriting. That's the schedule for the school.
Nice.
So when Bruce met you and he thought that you were a potential student for his school, he'd give you his business card, and on the back he'd write down the address to the school. And then once you got there and you met up with Danny Inosanto and you joined the school, Danny Inosanto would write down the schedule on the card. So can I share with you my collection?
Go for it.
Yeah, make it quick.
I'm gonna case the joint so I know the best way in and out when I come to New York.
Go ahead, sir.
Stop me if I'm overdoing it, but here,
I will.
here we go.
Don't worry, I will.
Did you say something?
No.
Anything?
Yeah, we can see the Game of Death diorama, the warrior.
We can see it all, man. Go ahead. It looks great.
All right. These are some action figures that I've collected throughout the years.
Hector, are they Jason Ng's models?
You got it, brother. These are made by Jason Ng. Yes, for Tao figures. And we also got some Arnie Kim pieces. The ones at the end are made by Eric So from Hong Kong. Good friend of mine. And these here, these are from Arnie Kim, a Korean artist who did these for Enerbay.
I think Arnie Kim's probably one of the best of the lot for these sculptures.
Oh, indeed. He is the one who has captured Bruce Lee's soul in his sculpts. So take a look at this one. I mean, he really, really captured the way Bruce looked.
I'm looking for the life-size bust that he's just brought out. Have you brought that yet, Hector?
Well, that's coming out next year, actually, Rick, in 2021.
And it's only $4,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, Charlie.
Get some extra overtime in at the hotel.
Got some skateboards, and this is a great shot of Bruce Lee, Angela Mao, Bob Wall, and Chuck Norris. And, you know, she owns a restaurant in Queens. And this is Jihan Jae, one of Bruce's opponent in Game of Death. And you guys have probably seen this already, so I'll just do a quick overview. This is one of my walls, and this one here is actually my prize piece. This is a Game of Death replica outfit, but it's actually signed by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Dan Inosanto, and Jihan Jay.
I'm glad to see he's wearing a mask.
Gotta keep Bruce healthy.
Yeah.
And of course, he signed the sneakers for me as well. So this is one of my favorite pieces here, another life cast.
That's a very good one. That must be from the actual casting. It's a very good one. That some of them are not so good, but that's a really good one.
Oh, indeed. Thank you, Ricky. Yeah, this one is probably a second generation. Then I have these here. These are a few. And then this one here is a Bruce Lee, Brandon Lee hybrid. So it's actually a Bruce Lee live cast with Brandon Lee crow makeup.
I've never seen that before.
Yeah, well, these are custom made. They're made by my friend in California.
So if I won the lottery tomorrow, Hector, what's the value of that room?
Well, you know, I never really put a monetary value on it, but it's more sentimental than what do you call it, than monetary. And that's it.
Hector, man, thank you. And I'm glad you finally made it on this thing.
Wow, Hector.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Hi, Cynthia.
Charles Damiano, go ahead, sir. You are the last person.
Vincent, thank you so much, man. It's only been, what, 3 hours? I feel like I know all you guys personally at this point.
We're on schedule, so you were supposed to
there you go. There you go.
answer. Yes, please.
I'm glad Hector finally made it on, because, you know, if it wasn't for Hector, I wouldn't be here on the show today. He told me about it last minute, so I want to thank you guys all for having me on here. And like Hector, I started collecting Bruce Lee and been a big fan of Bruce Lee since 73, when I first seen him explode off the screen in Fists of Fury. But like Hector, discovered him in 66, 67 from the Green Hornet. And, I think the common bond that connects all of us here today, I always tell my collector friends that follow me on YouTube, because I started a YouTube channel about 2 years ago, and I have over 5,000 people now following me that I communicate with throughout the world. And I share not only their collections, but stories on how Bruce inspired them and how they were influenced by Bruce. And, the common thread that makes us all feel like one big community and family is Bruce Lee. So I'm honored to be here with all of you guys today in talking about Bruce Lee, our hero. And I think Timok said it best when he said, Bruce Lee represents possibility. And I always tell people that, to me, he represented a role model for me on the unbelievable possibility of the human potential. And that's what I always looked up to about Bruce Lee is, I always wanted to know from the first item I bought when I wanted to find out everything I could about Bruce Lee is what made him so great. Why was he so awe-inspiring to so many people around the world? And as I read the books and I studied the films, and I bumped shoulders with Ron Van Cleef back in the early 70s, growing up in the Lower East Side. I studied with Duncan Leung as well at 13, 14 years old at his school at 3 Great Jones Street. And I used to bump into Ron Van Cleef all the time in the West Village, because he's a New Yorker as well. So Ron, if you're on this, Duncan Leung, is the thread that flows between me and you. Because I've been at his school too, and I've seen pictures of you hanging all over his school back then in the early 70s. But, I think collecting is great. I've met thousands of people throughout the world who are into Bruce Lee just through the wonderful world of collecting. And that's how I met my good friend Hector Martinez, who I've been friends with now for over 30 years. And I don't want to take too much time, but I just like to share with you some of my more personal items, because, I have over 5,000 items in my collection. If I were to go through all of them, we'd be here another 10 hours, and no one wants to hear that. But I pulled out a couple of personal items that mean the most to me. And it's always more now, Bruce's personal items that really stand out for me, because, it's something he touched, he wore, he signed. So I have like about 3 autographs of Bruce, which are really special to me. One being this one that I picked up back in New York City. It's a very beautiful autograph I got this from a store here in Manhattan called Gotta Have It. And it was an autograph, and you could see Bruce had a beautiful signature, and he not only signed his name, but you see the Chinese characters of his name underneath it as well. So this is one of the autographs I have authenticated by Gotta Have It. And my second autograph is very personal as well, because it's a credit card slip that was put out by the Bruce Lee estate.
That's what I was just looking for. I have one just like that.
I figured that, and this was put out by the Bruce Lee estate, and Randy Wong at the time was selling these in the early 90s, and they were only releasing 2 at a time because, you know, they didn't want to release too many to one person. And I remember purchasing 2 of them. I sold one many, many years back, which I regret now. And this one shows that he purchased a pair of sweatpants back in January 28th of 1972. So when you think of, you know, history and owning a piece of Dragon history, these are very personal to me now. And on the back of it, you have the letter of authenticity from Linda Lee signing it, authenticating
That's
that
exactly what I have. The same
one?
Authenticity. Yep.
Yeah, this is great, man. This is great. And then my pride and joy signature is this last one, which I don't know if you guys used to follow the Heather Holmberg catalogs back in the 90s and, you know, the early 90s. They were selling off tons of Bruce Lee memorabilia, and I think Norman Boreen sold his entire collection back then for $365,000, all auctioned off through these auction houses at the time. And when I saw this beauty, I just had to have it. And this one is, it says best wishes from your friend Bruce Lee, and it has the Chinese character here representing his signature, and it says Kato. And the mystery behind it is that supposedly he gave this to someone named Betty at the time. And I have the original one here, which I purchased at the time. And this is kind of one of my pride and joys. And I just love this signature because it's more than a signature. It has writing of Bruce's handwriting with his Chinese character name signed Kato, because obviously he was making the Green Hornet. And then, you know, it came with a letter of authenticity from the Heather Holmberg auction house at the time when I purchased it. So, you know, those 3 autographs to me, just to have something personal that is Bruce's, just mean a lot. And then 2 other items that I really love is, you know, Bruce's first book, Chinese Kung Fu, The Philosophical Art of Self-Defense, which I picked up many, many years ago. As you know, he only made 500 of these, and to own one of the originals, you know, is really very, very difficult to find now because so few are made. And I'm fortunate enough to have this in my collection at this time. And then the other item that I really enjoy, which I think you guys will like.
Michael Jackson used to have one too. Even Michael Jackson found one.
Oh, really? One of these books?
New York Chinatown. In one of the bookstores in New York Chinatown, he came across one signed by Bruce. He bought one.
Wow. The one signed by Bruce is like priceless.
Yep. Even Michael Jackson had one.
Yeah, they're so difficult to find these books. You know, I searched Chinatown in the early 70s at Bokley Tech, and they had these, but they were copies at the time. And I bought 5 of them thinking they were the original because, you know, at 14, 15 years old, you don't know much back then. And I bought them only to find out years later that it was a reprint. And then, you know, I was able to pick up one of the original. You have one of these Setons or no?
No, I don't.
Yeah, these are great. And then like you, I have a business card that Bruce, actually a membership card that he used to sign, original membership card to his school. Yeah, you have one too. There it goes. And so again, these personal items mean more now than, you know, a Fighting Star magazine or a Black Belt magazine, because they were owned and touched by Bruce Lee, and it was part of his personal, you know, collection. So these are my favorite. I hope you guys enjoyed this little presentation. It was an honor being here today with so many of you guys that I grew up with throughout the years, reading about, like Cynthia and Ron Van Cleef and all the other martial artists and collectors on this show. And Vincent, thank you very much. I know I had a pleasure meeting you about 2 years ago at the Wall Street gallery that we were at together, and Hector had a beautiful display there. So thank you guys very much
Charlie,
on the show.
Thank you.
Charlie, I wanted to share with you the poster. This is where you got your
there it is,
autographed letter right here.
There it is. And here's the first catalog she came out with.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. And that's the poster that came along with it.
So this is the poster to the original auction.
Exactly.
Thank you, guys. Much appreciated. Art Camacho, are you there, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, who's still here?
Yeah, well, God bless you too. I know it's a little earlier for you. Anything you'd like to say in closing, sir?
Now, I think in closing, this was fantastic, number one. Secondly, going back to some of the early conversations about Bruce, at the end of the day, there's one Bruce Lee, there's one Michael Jackson, one Elvis Presley. These people weren't the best, but they, in their way, were the greatest. So thank you so much, brother, for including me. This has been so much fun and I'm honored. I love you and a lot of respect for you too, brother. So much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. See, I love you. I got to see your collection, you bastard.
Well, I'm upset right now because I can't find that credit card receipt. So I better not have lost it.
Come on, Seaton.
Yeah, I'll look for it.
Thank you, R. and Seaton. Demetrius, anything you'd like to say in closing, sir? Unmic yourself.
That would help, right?
Yeah.
Once again, thank you guys for being a part of this. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of it. Thank you for remembering this icon that we call Bruce Lee, who inspired so many of us around the world, touched us all internally as well as externally, and allowed us to be our best selves in many ways. And I think that's what the message that he might have wanted everyone to know is to be your best self and to look within. And when you do that, a lot of times you will find your greater self, and don't be afraid to allow it to shine. I'm just so grateful for everybody here because most of these people here have contributed to the Urban Action Showcase and Expo and really supported us. And we really appreciate you all. Vincent Lin being one of the first among all these people. And I just want to just say thank you for allowing me to share my love for the martial arts and for those who have made the martial arts special, like Cynthia Rothrock, Brian Van Cleef, and Ty Mock, and so many others. And once again, I'm just grateful to be able to take the dream and inspiration that we saw in cinema, at least that I saw in cinema, and make it a reality and part of my own physical and spiritual life. So once again, thank you for allowing me to be part of this.
Thank you, Demetrius. God bless. God bless. And with that, we'll go to Cynthia, none other. Your closing remarks, dear.
Oh, I just want to say, everybody stay safe, stay positive, have a Merry Christmas. And it's so good. I can't be with you, but it's so good to see everybody virtually.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we got somewhere to go soon, so, you know.
Oh, we do. Yeah, I'll be seeing you soon.
Yeah, that's right. We won't tell anybody where, though. Okay. And with that, thank you, everybody. I'll just thank you, colleagues, friends, fellow martial artists, teachers, filmmakers, directors, producers, everyone. Thank you for spending the afternoon or evening or early morning with us all. And with that, I'd like to give it back to Dr. Wally Idris and his closing remarks. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you so much, Vincent. I didn't expect anything less of this performance. Thank you so much, Cynthia. You are an angel, star, and everything all at once. You guys, all of me, I can't believe Camacho, Mr. Camacho is here with us. I've done all these people that have been so larger than life on the big screen for us growing up. Most of you also the people who run the martial art institutes, as well as the big storytellers. What I want to say here really is that more than the appreciation that we can share with each other, I think it's important to put few things in perspective. We are storytellers.
Martial arts shows.
And storytelling is a huge part of expressing the love and appreciation for the world we live in. What you've contributed ever and will continue to contribute will remain very important to the growth of the world. And while you're living this life, while you're doing what you do, in whatever perspective that you are contributing, it's hard to reckon the influence that you have in other people. So as Bruce Lee was doing his thing in the United States or in Hong Kong or anywhere else, a wave of movement was happening in Africa. I was part of that time where people who were older than my generation and those who were younger than my generation were very influenced and very moved at these two cultural revolutions that is bombarding the continent. One from America and one from Hong Kong movies, as well as Bollywood. You got to remember this. So as all these three entities are coming together, there are all these very clear competition. Bollywood is struggling to capture the market, and it's making a lot of influence with all the nuances and the dances and the cultures. Very fascinating. The Hong Kong is bringing in all these Shaolin from mainland, which is also very formidable at that time. You may all remember. And this is one thing that I want us to reckon with. This is why China had a little bit of challenge in really embracing Bruce Lee at the beginning, because this guy was just crapping the show for them, because they wanted to encourage the market in such a way that they make poignant the cultural revolution that they are pushing. You know, this is China, this is Chinese culture, and this is what it is. But Bruce Lee is embracing the whole world. This got really captured so well by Abdul Jabbar, telling the story of Bruce Lee from his perspective. So Bruce was not just Chinese, of course, he was American, and he was American, he was Chinese American, but he didn't even want to identify himself as such. He was a human being, and that's what he carried to the world, and that's what the world embraced. So we were very glad to see someone of a different ethnic group that's beaten up all the Americans and the white people, because that's, you know, that those are the people who were dominating. They were the one killing and beating up everybody in the movies. So for that, people were gravitating more to the Bruce Lee movie more than they would the Chinese or the Bollywood movie, and that made a clear difference. All of that was captured in the box offices. As you can see, Bruce really brought home the bacon. More than that is what is planted in our hearts, that all is possible and that we are all equal. We can't be grateful enough for that. I hope the Bruce Lee Foundation can see what we see here and what we do here, that they embrace this opportunity, that they have this wider vision. Again, I can't thank you all enough, and so grateful, my brother, Sir Vincent, for always rising to this occasion. There's many more for us to do. And again, all you guys, may God bless you, continue to bless you. Please stay safe. Happy holidays and a happy new year.
Thank you, Wally.
Stay
Thank
safe
you,
and blessed.
Vincent.
Yes.
Thank you.
Love to you all.
Safe and blessed.
Enjoy. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Peace and love.
All right.
Shalom.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye now. Take care.
Bye-bye.
God bless. God
Bye,
bless.
everyone.
Bye,
Happy
everyone.
Yeah. Danny Chin, good to see you, sir.
Thank you so much, everyone. God bless and happy holidays to you all.
God bless you too. Stay safe out there, people, especially the ones in England, tier 4. Good God.
Yeah, it's criminal.
Jeez. Can they add a few more tiers?
I'd just like to end. There's one thing I didn't say at the end, which was just a minding piece was about Bruce Lee, was when I ever write a book, I always add this 2 little lines that says, in the beginning, we flirted with Kung Fu movies, but it wasn't until Bruce Lee come along that we fell in love with them. And I'll end on that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ricky. Great to see you, sir. Enjoy and stay safe and healthy. Happy New Year, all.
Come to London.
All right, I'm coming. Don't worry.
I'll bring the negatives.
All right. Oh God. Oh God. Blessings, mate. Take care.
See you later.
Cheers. Cheers.
Bye-bye.